becoming an expert at modern selling with LinkedIn. Now, this modern as a keyword itself is like confusing. People call it digital, people call it social. Some of the organizations also call it as a journey towards digital transformation in their sales, in their marketing, all that stuff. But essentially, what it means is that whatever we have been doing over these years, a traditional and conventional method, this is, for example, sending out emails, doing email campaigns, uh, picking up the phone and calling people as a cold call. So all that is like clubbed into one basket of traditional and conventional methods of selling. And what we are seeing that in the last few years, that is not enough. It's not that it's not required, but that's not enough. So probably the question that many organizations started asking themselves was that how do we increase the productivity of the sales team? Now our teams are already doing a lot of things. They're calling people, they're sending emails, doing campaigns, there are inside sales teams, there are SDRs, there are BDRs, all stuff that's there in the sales team. But still the productivity level is not that high. And that's a concern. It was identified that whatever we are doing, it's not enough. But that doesn't mean that if you're doing 10 calls or 20 calls a day, suddenly you start making 40 calls a day and it will help you, because it will not help you in the long run. It might help you in the short run, but it will not help you in the long run. So what is actually required is to add on additional mediums on top of what we are already doing. So if you're already garnering 20% of the productivity through these activities, from making it 20% to 40%, we need to add more channels, we need to add more layers and augment what we are already doing. And there comes platforms like LinkedIn, where to whomsoever we want to connect, to whomsoever we want to reach out, to whomsoever we want to have a conversation today as our buyers and decision makers, they all are on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn becomes a very uniquely positioned platform in today's day and age, which every person, either in sales, in marketing, in HR, as a candidate, whatever profession, they leverage it. And that's the beauty of it, that it helps you in all the ways. Why sales professionals using LinkedIn is today in their modern selling, why they are using it, and why is there a need to use it. So these are some of the stats that I would want to share with you all. And these stats are coming from various sources of research done by, done by the CSO, which is like Chief Sales Officers Insights, Community Magazines and Publications, LinkedIn's own data, HBR reports. And what all these reports point out is that B2B sales, what it was in 2010, it's not the same today in 2022. Things have changed drastically. Today, there are more number of people involved in the buying process. So if you are already in the B2B sales profession, you would see that, it's not just 1, 2 people, 3 people involved in the process. Today, there are more people involved. Now, having more people involved in the entire buying process makes it more complex. And the average stats and the data around it is that there are about 6 to 10 people involved in the B2B buying process. It depends, like it's a smaller organization, there will be 4, 5 people, very large organization, for example, like a conglomerate like Reliance Industries, TCS, IBM, very huge enterprise organizations. There it could be like 25 to 30 people involved in the buying process. So it's that complex, from 4 to 5, the smaller organization like a startup, to even 25 to 30 people involved in a very large organization like this. So on an average, there are like 6 to 10 people involved. That's what the data came out with. And what another data that comes out from LinkedIn is that 20% of these people, and these are the like decision makers, 20% of them, they are annually changing jobs. So if you really put yourself in the sales shoes, you would have observed sometimes that people that you are already interacting with in your conversation, in your sales, in your prospective accounts, there are people who have left that organization and gone from some other organization. They have moved from one role to another role. So this means that all the time when we are having conversation with prospective customers, 20% of them are always at the risk that if we are not building connections with more than 2, 3 people, those people might just change job and will have to start again from the start. So that's the context, that 20% of the decision makers are always changing jobs. And that's why it's important to reach out to and have conversations with more people. 90% of the C-level executives say that they never respond to a cold outreach. And today, in any buying process, if you are in a critical product selling organization, change management organization, consulting organization, where doing your B2B sales, if you're into SaaS companies where you are required to reach out to C-level executives. So just imagine 90% of those C-level executives don't respond to cold outreach. And what you can also understand from the fact that keep yourself into the same shoes. The organizations that you are working in already, will your C-level executive or CEO entertain any cold calling person? They will not. So why should a CEO of any other organization that you are prospecting into would respond to your cold calls? It's as simple as that. So it's important for us to move away from that culture of just picking up the phone and giving random calls to C-level executives if we are already doing it. Or let's say just sending out a standardized email content, because most of the time it's just going into their junk folders or they're just not even looking it up. So 90% of them don't do that. And because of all of these things that I've just discussed, it has been observed that nearly 40% of the time that a seller actually spends having actual selling conversations, just about 40% out of the 100%. And the 60% is actually going into all the noise, the activities which doesn't really impact a sales cycle or a sales conversation or a sales journey or a customer life cycle. It's all admin work. Finding the content, email crack कर रहे हैं, phone number crack कर रहे हैं, call कर रहे हैं, पता लगा रहे हैं, all that stuff. 60% of the time is getting listed there. So just imagine if you are not doing all that stuff and you're putting, not reducing it from 60 to 20% and investing 80% of your time actually doing that selling, what would your productivity look like? And that's exactly where you should start leveraging more tools, more platforms on top of your conventional platforms, traditional methods, to amplify and augment it. So how LinkedIn as a platform actually helps is that it helps you to find the right people. If the complex cycle, more people involved, find the right people who are all involved in the buying process. People who are actually moving jobs, stay informed that who is moving, who is joining, track and identify what is the movement of those key C-level executives, vice presidents, so that in your industry, you're always aware that where those critical decision makers are moving or joining. And engage with the people on the platform. I have seen so many of the times that sales people early in their career or even late in their career, they just send out random connection requests on LinkedIn. And 90% of them don't get accepted because we are just sending out connection requests. We're not engaging with people. So you need to build your engagement with people on LinkedIn and be efficient using all this platform, using whatever you're already doing and topping it up with these platforms. Become more efficient, become more productive in what we are doing. Now, some of the trends that we have seen in B2B sales, specifically post-pandemic, and this is what we've covered in our LinkedIn's annual state of sales report as well. So LinkedIn publishes a state of sales report every year, and wherein we kind of map a lot of data points. We take down data points that we have listened and covered from sellers, from buyers, from organizations, from the LinkedIn data itself, what we hear from our own customers, thousands of them at a global scale, thousands of them in APAC. What are the sales leaders talking about? So all that stuff, we've done it and put it in our state of sales report. And what we've seen is that there are like 3 trends that have shaped up the future of sales. First is the pandemic has disrupted the process permanently and positively. We will cover that how it is. The continued rise of sales technology and data-driven selling approach, that is something which is already seeing an uptrend. And top performers in sales, they're thriving due to their smart use of technology. So these are like the 3 basics and 3 trends that we have seen that have shaped up the future of sales post-pandemic specifically. And getting into all of these 3 trends now in a bit deeper way, I want to share some stats around it. Pandemic disrupted sales process positively and permanently. 68% of the respondents in our report building process, what they said was, so 68% of the buyers, now buyers are the people who are involved in the buying process. As a salespeople, when I reach out to decision makers, influencers, those are the ones who becomes the buyers, right? So 68%, which is like more than half of the buyers today, say that remote working has actually helped them making easier buying decisions. It has helped them to make buying decisions because of the work environment that they get working from home, the amount of time they're able to spend with speaking to multiple vendors, which they were not able to do on premise, saving a lot of time. What they say is that their buying process has become much more easier and much more streamlined. The first thing, if we as seller are reaching out to these buyers, 68% of them are actually enjoying their work working from home. So we need platforms like LinkedIn to reach out to them. We can't just drop into their office and hand over our business card to the reception. Secondly, hybrid selling is here to stay. So 30%, like 1/3 of the sellers say that they have closed a whopping $500,000 worth deal sizes also by just being virtual. So just imagine the ticket size. And this is the myth that we want to break. People believe that we are in a complex sales state of environment. Our ticket size is like $100,000, $500,000. We need physical engagement, interaction. We can't just rely on work from home strategy. It's a myth. See, there are people who are actually talking that they've closed deals worth $500,000 or more by being just, virtual, not being in front of the person physically. So the second trend says that the continued rise of sales technology and data-driven platforms and selling in the process, it has actually increased over the last 3-4 years in most organizations who are into this. And again, if you look at the stats, you see that more and more respondents start talking about it. And just look at the last point here, 77%. Warm outreach is increasingly becoming popular. And why I want to specifically highlight this is, in B2B sales, we don't leverage the connections that we are building on LinkedIn. We just randomly reach out to people, but we don't even see that the person that we are reaching out to is actually connected with somebody in our own network. And we don't reach out to that person in our network to seek that help. On the contrary, कहते नहीं हम इंडियंस का तो हमारा है ही ना, हमारे तो जुगाड़ होते हैं, गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स, गवर्नमेंट काम कराना है तो जुगाड़ है जी, हम जानते हैं किसी को. बट क्या हम वो चीज को इम्बाइब कर रहे हैं अपने ही खुद के प्रोफेशन में? डू वी लेवरेज पीपल दैट वी नो टू रीच पीपल दैट दे नो? दैट्स द क्वेश्चन. Smart people are leveraging it, and people who are not smart, they are doing hard work of calling, right? And people who are actually doing smart work, they are leveraging it and selling more. On the third aspect, top performers, people who are doing fantastic in sales, they thrive due to smart use of technology. So people who are doing very good numbers, generally they don't just do the same thing. Like they just don't pick up the phone and do a calling or write emails. They do something else along with what they're doing or other people are doing. They're spending time in researching. They're spending time in getting to understand their target audience, the decision makers. They use platforms like LinkedIn. They use platforms like articles on the news articles, collecting that data to understand that what exactly is going in that person's mind or in that company's strategy, and using that information in their emails or in the phone calls. So that's simple use of technology. It's not just like it's using only LinkedIn, but it's like using entire technology platforms that are available. 50% of the sellers say that they are very active on LinkedIn for business purposes, which is more than any other media site. Obviously, we will not be more active on Facebook for business, right? That's like very simple and straightforward. So any questions that anyone has by looking at these data points are something that I wanted to share and present to you to open up your own thought process, that if you're not leveraging platforms like LinkedIn today, you will ultimately have to forcibly use it for yourself to sustain in this profession. Otherwise, you won't be able to sustain yourself because things are changing. It's not conventional and traditional anymore. This is some of the stats that I picked up from our last year's state of sales report where buyers, again, 74% of the buyers, they believe that working remotely is something that they would continue with. And number of buyers who are making decisions to buy any product or service, three-fourth of them are actually working remotely. There is a 7 times increase in job postings that we have seen in APAC, which involves remote job postings. So the remote job profiles have increased. So organizations, their hiring strategies have changed. They are opening up job functions which are more remote in nature. So if the functions and the people are remote, virtual, why we are still in the same traditional conventional methodology? I'm saying it, let's do that, but on top of that, let's do something else as well. Because of all this data trend, what we believe and what we have understood is that business travel has reduced. When COVID pandemic, it was absolute zero, but it is reduced. It's not just only thing which is happening right now, like it was happening 5 years ago. In-person events have actually reduced. So organizations are not entirely relying and depending on in-person events. Face-to-face meetings have also reduced. And and sales leaders are also not relying 100% on that. Their strategies have changed. What we see is that 80% of the buyers, they still want to continue working remotely. If your buyers are continuing working remotely, you have to build something as a muscle to reach out to them in a remote manner, in a virtual manner. All these data points, again, the point I want to make and I want to stress upon is that the virtual engagement is increasing. And if virtual engagement is increasing, what we are also seeing is the first few discussions that you are having with the decision maker is virtual. Probably then they might allow you to enter their office, have a much more deeper conversation. So you have to build that rapport, you have to build that value, you have to build that conversation, understanding initially with the decision makers virtually. And then probably you get into that zone of having those physical interactions. That's where the increase in the virtual engagement has actually gone up. So how is LinkedIn and social selling or modern selling or digital selling, all this is culminating into this entire prospect? If you look at the data, how LinkedIn is globally spread out, I want to stress upon this fact. India, 85 million plus. So just imagine the highest in the world is 185 million users of LinkedIn, which are in US. For LinkedIn as a platform, their second biggest geographical market is India. There are like more than 85 million professionals who have their profiles on LinkedIn. So what it means is a very high chance and probability that people that you are looking to reach out to, they are on LinkedIn. So if your decision makers, if your people are on LinkedIn that you want to reach out to, obviously you have to leverage LinkedIn as a platform for that. This is a spread I want to share just to give you a thought of how LinkedIn is overall globally spread across. If you are in international sales, if your organization is into international sales, you can look at what is the data of APAC looks like. In APAC, it's India is the highest, then it's countries like Indonesia, which is really ramping up, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, China is there. But of course, with China, there is a change in LinkedIn strategy, which is only about job postings and job listings. There's nothing like business-oriented stuff that LinkedIn is doing anymore there because of the political reasons. But this is how it's all spread. So it's merit for us to leverage this platform because of the sheer fact of number of professionals which are there in India. What is our mission and what is LinkedIn's thought process behind it? We want to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. And by that, what I mean is salespeople, HRP, people who want to seek jobs, people who want to do business, people who want to use the platform for marketing, universities, schools, companies, everybody, all the things. If you see, this is the platform which is creating economic opportunities for everyone. And this is the result that we have seen on an average that organizations have been in more advanced in terms of adopting digital selling, modern selling as their exercises within the organization. They've seen impact in their sales numbers. And these are all in front of you. This is a number which is not just random number. It's a number which is an average of all our CRM synced organizations. Their CRMs are synced with our own APIs, and the numbers are being taken up from there. So first profile tip, and I want to very put a stress onto this fact that people don't put a very good profile picture. It's something similar to what they have on Facebook, Twitter, maybe photo. LinkedIn as a platform, we don't recommend that. We say that it's always better to upload a clear professional headshot. And why? Because it helps you in multiple ways. If you're looking out for it, it puts up the right impression of you as a person professionally. If you're reaching out to a C-level executive as a salesperson, it instills credibility and trust if your profile picture. So picture speaks 1,000 words. And that's where it's very important for you to keep these things in mind. Put a headline which should describe in one line that what is it the value that you're bringing to customers, what is it that you do, just one line, a banner background image just to share that it's either related to your industry, company, location, something that I have put in. Add a feature content, so something that you have created as a content on LinkedIn platform, put it as a feature content, because most of the times when people are visiting your profile on LinkedIn, they are scanning you through. They're scanning your profile. They're looking at what is it that this person has done, how much experience this person has in this organization. Okay, he has written or she has written this on LinkedIn as a platform. This is the article that she has written. What is it that she has written? If you have not written, I would recommend you to take out some time, write down something, because end of the day, it all helps to build your professional brand. Share about yourself, your professional journey, about in your about to section, your profile in the next section. What I want to also share as a tip is in your experience, your organization. I've seen many people, they just leave it blank that, okay, we have worked in XYZ organization with the title and that's it. Share about it. What was the value that you were driving in that particular role? How you improved something as a business outcome for the organization, value for your customers. What is it that brought that change in your stint there as an working that organization? Um, Put few of the things like some of the media, like media content, something that you want to share about. For example, if you see here, I've written that I am in enterprise sales and sales solutions. And below that, I've shared a media, which is like a video on introduction to Sales Navigator. So this is what I do a conversation with on a daily basis. And I want to share exactly with anybody who is visiting on my profile that what exactly is Sales Navigator? What is the state of sales report? Because we are talking about sales solutions, right? And that's how you're linking up and building up your professional profile and visibility also. People don't generally complete their LinkedIn profile. I would say, see, the profile sections are built to reflect something. It holds the importance. So don't just, fill up like 20-30% of your profile. Invest that 5-10 minutes in building your LinkedIn profile, because trust me, it helps you a lot. Put your education, mention what is it that the education background that you're coming from. If you have recommendations, reach out to your customers, reach out to your ex-colleagues to recommend you for the work or the relationship that you have built with them. Nothing pressing. You can just reach out to them, that if they're interested and they see that there's some value that you've been able to create with them, if they would want to pen it down. List your skills. If people are recommending and endorsing you for skills, that also helps. All these are the things which helps from your job hunt perspective. There are many organizations and recruiters who specifically look for specific skills, and if you're already high and highly endorsed in those skills, you stand a better chance. So this is all related to your jobs related section. So building your LinkedIn network. Now, this is where it becomes really important to understand the process. And the first thing that we started off as a conversation, don't just send out connection request randomly. People only connect with people that, now it doesn't mean that somebody you don't know, you won't want to connect. You would want to connect, but build that engagement first before sending out the connection. We'll cover that. Professional interaction, send connection request right before or after meeting your customers or new contacts. Whenever you have had a virtual conversation, whenever you had an in-person conversation with anybody, be prompt enough to send out a connection request just after that, because the person's mind and thoughts are right fresh about having conversation with you. uh, 10, 15 days, 20 days later, that person might forget. always personalize your connection request. So it's a practice that I have ingrained. If I'm sending out a connection request to anybody, there's a section that comes in to add a note. I'll just point it out as well. So if you're, let's say, reaching out to Charlotte here, and I click onto the more section and click onto the connect. So here, as a third step, there's a section to add a note. Highly recommended. Please add a note when you're sending out a connection request. It gives an information to the other person about what is it that you're looking to build the connection with. What is the context of sending out the connection request? And here, many people actually fail. Salespeople, they just send out connection requests to senior, other organization heads. They want to just sell something. They just send out connection requests. Many of the times it gets accepted. Most of the times it doesn't get accepted. And even if it gets accepted, just look back. What was the level of conversation you were able to drive? It was not good. Probably just one or two people out of the entire stack might have given you a second conversation or a meeting. That's like shooting in the dark. So always personalize your outreach. Personalizing it makes it more efficient. This is something that I would say ingrain in yourself when you are sending out connection requests. Always personalize. It is also a very good practice to personalize and send out it as a message. पहली बात तो ये कि अगर आप सिर्फ connection request भेज रहे हो, मेरे पास connection request आ रहा है, मेरे पास सिर्फ एक दूसरे सेकंड पर्सन का प्रोफाइल फोटो आ रहा है और मेरे पास लिंक आ रहा है कि ये कौन है, बट मुझे ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि इसने मेरे को कनेक्शन रिक्वेस्ट भेजा क्यों. एंड देन आई विल क्रिएट नोशंस अबाउट इट. सेल्स का है, कुछ ना कुछ बेच रहा होगा. I will accept, I will reject it. Majority of the decision makers decide by this. अच्छा डिजिग्नेशन सेल्स की डिजिग्नेशन है, अच्छा कंसल्टेंट की डिजिग्नेशन है, कुछ ना कुछ बेचेगा. I want to be away from that. So these are like the defense guards of people, and you have to imagine it from the perspective that the brand equity of sales people have already taken a hit because of the malpractices that industry has brought in. People receive 4 to 5 calls on a regular basis who are selling somebody a credit card, a loan, anything, selling. So the brand equity of sales people has already been tarnished by these practices, and because of that, the defense guard of decision makers is already very up. They want to stay away from salespeople. We don't want to buy anything. So that's why it's very important for you to write up something as an intention, that what is it that you intend to build a connection. What for? Why are you reaching out? So use that note to express that. देखो अब वो वाला टाइम नहीं रहा है जब कहते थे ना कि सेल्स का मतलब है सारा दिन बाहर ऑन द फील्ड. अगर आप बाहर ऑन द फील्ड नहीं हो तो then you are not doing sales. So I would say that is not the time now. We have changed. Things have changed. That was more like hard work without smart work. Today, people spend a lot of time with analytics tools, techniques, technology platforms, and couple that up with feet on the ground. So it's like a mixture of both the things. Of the tips, use hashtags, use 3 or more hashtags. Hashtags helps you to build your content. So in general, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, you would see that the LinkedIn is prompting already that one should talks about or shares content about digital selling, sales, B2B. And that's the kind of hashtag that I use. So anybody who is coming onto my profile, a decision maker or anyone, the first thing that they see is that, okay, Manshresh talks about digital sales. Manshresh talks about B2B sales. He talks about selling. So this is where I'm building my professional brand and in front of the other person. So do all these things. These are some of the tips I wanted to share. Engage the content shared by हमारे customers जिनको हम reach out करना चाहते हैं ना. अभी देखो ये I'm not connected directly with this person. He is the AVP of one of the organizations that is my customer now. But when I was prospecting, I used to engage. कुछ मिला content, I just reshared it, I commented on it, engage, और कुछ भी नहीं है. देखो seasons greeting है, उसी में ही comment कर दूँ. So this is like small stuff where why it is important is because when you are putting a comment, it is going as a notification to your decision maker directly that this person has commented on your post. This is the first warm visibility that you need to create before pitching your stuff, right? एकदम से सेल्स पिच नहीं करनी ना. हमको पहले एक वार्म लेवल पे बिल्ड करना है, आइस ब्रेक करना है. इतनी प्रोफेशनल विजिबिलिटी को इम्प्रूव करके सामने लेकर आना है, तभी तो सामने वाला इंटरेस्टेड होगा मेरे से कॉन्वर्सेशन करने में. So engage their content which can spark conversation. So that's the whole idea. How to engage target buyers. Always check for warm introductions. I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to reach out to Josephine Wong as a person in FedEx. She's the corporate communication specialist in APAC. What I do is I identify who are first degree level connections that are common with Josephine and me. So I see that, okay, these are like first degree level connections that I have who are common and we are mutual connections. So I take out that mutual connect route. I reach out to my first degree connections or also her first degree connections and seek a warm introduction. ये चीज हम नहीं करते हैं जो कि हमें करनी चाहिए. We have been in the industry as sales people for so many years. जो fresh हैं, उनके अपनी कंपनी में उनके सीनियर्स हैं जो कि इंडस्ट्री में इतने सारे लोगों से कनेक्टेड हैं, तो उनके फर्स्ट डिग्री नेटवर्क्स जो होंगे उनको लेवरेज करो वार्म इंट्रोडक्शंस के लिए. पॉइंट इज leverage your network. If you are not leveraging your network, then you are just doing hard work. You're not doing smart work. फिर से मैं वही बोलूंगा, जब हम कहते नहीं कि हमें कुछ अपना पर्सनल काम कराना था तो हम नेटवर्क ढूंढते हैं, यार ये मेरा काम करा दे, और वो हो जाता है जनरली क्योंकि हमारा वहां पे एक नेटवर्क ऐसा बिल्ड हो गया कि ट्रस्ट क्रेडिबिलिटी है, यहाँ पे काम हो जाता है फटाफट. वही सेम चीज को सेल्स में भी लेकर आओ. खुद का नेटवर्क अगर नहीं है तो जिसके साथ नेटवर्क है उसके नेटवर्क को लेवरेज करो और उसको लेवरेज करो कि वो आपको कनेक्ट करा पाए राइट पीपल के साथ. सो यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई दैट. इफ यू आर कमिंग ऑन टू एनीवन्स प्रोफाइल, चेक दैट इफ दे हैव एनी शेयर्ड कनेक्शंस. If you have shared connections, your first approach should be in that list of shared connections, कौन है जिसके साथ तुम्हारी रेपो बहुत स्ट्रांग है, और उससे बोलो कि यार जोसेफिन वोंग, I see that you are connected, मीटिंग करा दे यार एक, can you help me with getting a conversation or meeting? Trust me, I am sharing this from my personal experience. I closed one of my biggest deals in my career just by leveraging that network. And you would be surprised that majority of the complex deals in organizations that many salespeople crack, they crack through this method. See, end of the day, we are selling to people, right? It's a people-to-people interaction, even though it is B2B, but it's a P2P, right? It's a people-to-people interaction which is happening between B2B conversations. And you need to leverage those human connections. You need to leverage your network connections. You need to leverage it. Leverage is the word. Keep always this in mind. Many people use in-mails to send out the first level of conversation, initiate the first level of conversation. And I want to share some in-mail examples and what exactly helps me in getting good responses or response rate from in-mail. क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों का in-mail response rate भी इतना अच्छा नहीं होता. और प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे है कि हम अपनी ईमेल्स को ही रेप्लिकेट कर देते हैं ईमेल में. एंड इफ यू सी, मैंने ये एग्जांपल शेयर करें, दिस पर्सन इज लाइक वेरी सीनियर पर्सन, एक्सेप्टेड माय ईमेल और अपना फोन नंबर भी शेयर कर दिया. दिस पर्सन इज अ वेरी सीनियर पर्सन, सीएमओ ऑफ अ वेरी लार्ज एंटरप्राइज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, शेयर्ड हर ईमेल एड्रेस टू कनेक्ट. The crux is when we are sending out an email, start with that personalization. पर्सनलाइज करो कुछ भी अगर है, अगर आपके बीच में कनेक्शन पर्सनलाइजेशन का. दिस पर्सन वाज माय alumni, वी आर फ्रॉम द सेम कॉलेज, सो दैट्स वेयर आई बिल्ड दैट फर्स्ट पर्सनलाइज्ड कंटेंट that hey, it's great to be connecting with senior alumni, I was from batch 911. Quick pitch, क्या pitch कर रहा है, सब quick pitch होनी चाहिए, छोटी सी, and then call to action, simple. 3-step email is what gets you the maximum response rate. ईमेल जो आप लिखते हो उसको अगर आपने ईमेल में कॉपी पेस्ट कर दिया, आपको कहीं से रिस्पॉन्स नहीं मिलने वाला, क्योंकि ईमेल्स लोग मोबाइल पे पढ़ते हैं, और अगर वो 2 स्क्रॉल से ज्यादा कंटेंट हो तो वो ऐप बंद हो जाती है, राइट? सो योर कंटेंट शुड बी वेरी क्रिस्प, प्रिसाइज एंड ऑन टू द पॉइंट, बट इट शुडंट बी लाइक अ डायरेक्ट सेलिंग पिच. पर्सनलाइज करो, find out something which is common, and that's where I say leverage your network. So just imagine I'm picking up a phone and giving a call to a senior decision maker and saying, hey, I am from this organization. पहली चीज, defense level up, कोई ना कोई बेचने के लिए आया, नहीं इंटरेस्टेड नहीं हो. Secondly, on the contrary, if you're calling somebody and say that, hey, I got your reference from one of my friends who is your close network, in your close network, take that name, build that trust, credibility. Acha, हाँ, you got that number. So point is, आप instill कर रहे हो trust, credibility, personalization in the first few seconds, which is allowing that person to reduce their defense and open it up to have a conversation. And then you're doing a pitch. So ये चीज हमेशा याद रखना, 3-step approach. Start with some personalization और ice breaking में weather अच्छा, ये सब पुराना हो गया है कि आज का weather बहुत अच्छा है, ये it's all bad and it's all outdated. So come with something which is much more interesting, and that's where I say use LinkedIn. Find out that content which you can bring in personalization. फील्ड पे उतरना तो होता है, मगर बिना प्लान के फील्ड पे उतरना, कोई फील्ड पे उतरना वाली बात नहीं ना. मीटिंग्स विदाउट हैविंग अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट और अ प्लान कि आप किस लिए जा रहे हो मिलने, तो वो फर्स्ट मीटिंग अगर अच्छा नहीं है, इम्पैक्टफुल नहीं है, तो वो कस्टमर आपको दूसरी मीटिंग के लिए टाइम ही नहीं देगा. एंड आफ्टर कोविड और पैंडेमिक क्या हुआ है, आदत पड़ गई है वर्चुअल मीटिंग की. एंड वो इसलिए पड़ गई है क्योंकि जब तक कस्टमर जो बायर है वो कन्विंस नहीं है कि यू आर एडिंग सम वैल्यू, दैट पर्सन इज नॉट लुकिंग टू मीट यू इन पर्सन. अब ना वो पहले वाला नहीं रहा. अब कहते हैं कि अरे यार वीसी पे ही कर लेते हैं. अब वीसी पे ही कर लेते हैं क्या है कि फर्स्ट ही विल असेस, दैट पर्सन विल असेस वेदर व्हाट यू आर टॉकिंग इज एडिंग एनी वैल्यू टू दैट पर्सन's रोल, that person's problem, challenges, what they're trying to do in the organization. If that is adding value, then they would be interested to meet you in person. Now that is where we are moving towards. And this is something which will become even more evident once you will start to see that in your teams also. That not, and then अब होता क्या है, अगर आप सिर्फ मीटिंग के लिए ही डेस्परेट हो जाओ, तो आप क्या करोगे, लोअर इन द हायरार्की से मीटिंग लगाओगे. अगर हम उस ट्रैप में जा रहे हैं कि हम बॉटम टू टॉप अप्रोच में जाएंगे, तो वी विल गेट स्टक. वो बॉटम वाला जो होगा वो ऊपर जाने नहीं देगा. दैट पर्सन विल बिकम लाइक अ गेट कीपर. ईगोज विल कम इन बिटवीन. दैट पर्सन वोंट लेट यू गो अप. एंड दैट इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द नोशंस जहाँ पे सेल्स लोग बहुत स्ट्रगल करते हैं. सेल्स लोगों को लगता है कि अरे यार मैंने इसको बाईपास करके ऊपर गया ना तो खराब हो जाएगा काम. But I am always against that. I would say it is your job to do multiple outreaches to all kind of people. CEO को भी reach out करो, CXO को भी reach out करो, VPs को भी reach out करो, manager, senior manager, सबको reach out करो. Because you cannot just depend on one person. Going back to मेरी first slide, multiple people are involved in the buying process. सिर्फ वो manager involved नहीं है, और सिर्फ वो वीपी इन्वॉल्व नहीं है, मल्टीपल लोग इन्वॉल्व हैं. तो अगर मैंने सबको रीच आउट करके अपना एक बायर सर्कल नहीं क्रिएट किया, तो फिर 2 या 3 चीजें होंगी. या तो मेरा सेल्स साइकिल बहुत लंबा होएगा, या फिर जो मेरे को बजट मिलेगा वो इतना सा बजट मिलेगा क्योंकि मैनेजर का बजट लेवल इतना ही है, सीएक्सओ का इतना है, मगर मैं वहां तक जा ही नहीं पा रहा. ठीक है. और हो भी सकता है कि अगर वो 1 या 2 लोगों से मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, वो कल को कंपनी छोड़ गए, तो मेरे को फिर से दोबारा से स्टार्ट करना पड़ रहा है. सो यू आर गेटिंग इनटू मल्टीपल पिटफॉल्स because of the way you've structured your entire sales journey right from the beginning. And these are all like the challenges face karte hain na sales ki cycle mein. This is all the challenges which are the outcome and byproduct of how we are initiating that entire sales channel. So if we are not following, so for example, I follow always top to bottom because I want to first get the understanding of the senior leadership, whether they are interested in exploring such solution or bringing some changes in their organization or not. And if I'm able to convince that person, then the entire chain and hierarchy is then involved in the buying process because the top boss is involved. B2B mein to I always say that nothing is right and nothing is wrong. So you have to do all the things. Bottom top भी करना पड़ता है, top bottom भी करना पड़ता है. You have to build multiple relationships. You have to reach out to multiple people. A company like TCS, for example, very large organization, enterprise. Just imagine are people I have seen that they are just reaching out to few of the managers, senior managers in that organization, and they are just relying on those conversations. तो होगा क्या कि हम बहुत छोटी सी डील क्रैक कर लेंगे जो कि एक इतनी बड़ी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए कोई मायने ही नहीं रखती है, एंड देन वी आर हैप्पी एंड कंटेंट विद दैट, but we are not bringing any potential change in their strategy. We are not becoming part of their strategy at all as a partner. हमने बस किसी को बेच दिया, छोटी सी डील बेच दिया, वो यूज होएगा तो होएगा, नहीं होएगा तो वो रिन्यू नहीं होएगा. So you have to reach out to multiple people in an organization like TCS, 20, 25, 30. और ये जो TCS जैसी कंपनीज है, यहाँ पे तो 100 से ऊपर लोग होंगे जहां पर you have to build your connections, reach out. It's a key account for many organizations, strategic account for many organizations. So 1, 2, 3 people, it doesn't make the cut. You have to build your conversations with like hundreds of people for 1 year to reap the benefit in the next 2 or 3 years. That's where enterprise B2B sales is. I was into B2C channel sales, distribution sales, and then I moved to B2B. So I think it's important for you to be mentally ready, that if you have to change, if you have to make a change in your industry, be mentally ready that you are okay to start over again. तो जब मैंने change किया था, I was already 4 years experienced into B2C, but when I joined B2B as an industry, I joined as a fresher. It's just then you have to be mentally prepared कि ठीक है, अगर मैंने कुछ कर लिया है और अब मैं change कर रहा हूँ, तो मेरे को right from the scratch start करना है. So it's like taking a step back in your career, in your journey of into this profession of sales. So I would say you should always be ready to take a step back. Taking a step back is not bad. कई बारी आपको ऊपर बढ़ने के लिए एक स्टेप बैक लेना पड़ता है लाइफ में, क्योंकि जो ट्रैजेक्टरी ऊपर बढ़ने की है ना, वो कभी भी लीनियर नहीं है, ऐसे ही ऐसे होती है. हमेशा एक स्टेप बैक लेने के लिए you have to be ready, and especially when you are looking to make a change in the industry. So join that other industry as a fresher, be open to learning the new things in that industry so that you are doing good in the next 2-3 years. और जब आप फिर उसके बाद 2 साल 3 साल आपको हो जाएंगे ना, then you will start seeing the difference. Then you'll be more comfortable, more confident, and then you can command also. By the step back लिया था, now I have improved myself. Now you are getting a job where you can command also, CTC या ये वो जो भी है. So हमेशा ना एक step back लेने के लिए mind में prepared रहो अगर change करना है तो.